This clock was ordered. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, this republic, and one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Mulebauer,
Here.
Councilmembers Robinson,
Here.
Bauer,
Here.
Budday.
All right, and I'd like to entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. We have a
motion.
motion by Ludwig. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Robinson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Make that motion, Mayor.
Robinson makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Bauer makes a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting open to the public.
Hunter Carlson,
Howdy folks, I'm here to talk about the cannabis.
Excuse me. First, if you state your name and then your address to the record, and then carry on.
Hunter Carlson, I live at 2612 230th Court Northwest in St. Francis.
Go ahead.
so Mayor Pro Tem, so if this is in regards to a specific public hearing, I would say wait until that item if it's regarding the facts. So, okay.
That's the public hearing.
Which
Okay.
next.
I guess we'll call you up. Sure. Anybody else for open to the public?
No.
Okay. Moving on to that, public hearing.
Mayor and council, so the reading tonight is an interim ordinance for the cannabis products. This is the result of the state creating an updated law that was come into play. We are currently under a moratorium for the CBD THC that expires on August 1st. With the new laws, they further complicated this with 15 licenses, several different types of licenses. With that, we're looking to do another moratorium per the state statute. The state is looking to help cities draft ordinances as we go through this and while they create their Office of Cannabis Management. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions and definitely refer to our legal team as well.
So at this moment, I don't have any questions. I'm not sure if you guys do, but I think we should do the public hearing first. Hear from the residents and we'll discuss after. So we will open the public hearing at 6:02. Now you can step up, state your name and address, please, for the record. Go from there.
I'm Hunter Carlson, I'm from 2612 230th Court in St. Francis. So I'm here to talk about the cannabis ordinance that you guys have. First off, I'd just like to point out that there's a lot of confusion going around with you guys, especially when just hearing that today is the day that you guys are voting on it. And Kevin and Dave are already talking about trying to figure out problems with it. I feel like it's not fully fleshed out with you guys. In addition to that, I represent my neighborhood. And we talk about this a lot around the campfire currently because I wrote a paper on this, so I was very active in listening to the Minnesota pass this. So, and I do sympathize with the fact that you guys don't have a lot of local control over it, but I feel like it's coming and you might as well have it happen now instead of having to wait. I think it was, the number was talked around like 2025 or so, which I feel like is a little too far out there, especially with a lot of my people in my neighborhood and people that I talk to around St. Francis already thinking about, yes, it's coming August 1st. I can't wait to grow this, I can't wait to do that. And I just feel like on behalf of a lot of people in St. Francis that they do not want this to pass. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody else for the public hearing?
My name is Luke Larson. I live 23332 Highwood Street Northwest. And I just want to give open testament to my support of cannabis, just as a medicinal in the state and recreational. So currently I am diagnosed with like depression, anxiety disorder, and they're recurring things in my life. And just want to give testament, between that and the medications and experience of being on. I definitely prefer cannabis. So just saying that as a citizen, I'm born and raised in Minnesota. As a Buddhist, I just think it's compassionate thing to let people choose for themselves, especially when you're older, and kind of leave the management business up to the governments at city and district type stuff. That's kind of just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have that kind of question. I didn't sign your sheet.
Yeah, step up, state your name and address, please.
Hello, Crystal Parkle, 23632 Cadbeck Street, Northwest. I didn't plan on speaking until I got here. I was surprised it was even a thing. One of the things I'd like to discuss is, like has been pointed out, it's coming August 1st. It's already in our communities. If we embrace it, we can regulate it, we can tax it, which is a new revenue base with the new fire department coming in, with our population exploding the way it is and everything else. We need that tax base to allow that to come into our communities in a safe, effective manner. I think it's imperative that we do so. So I'm speaking against the moratorium. I believe that this community could benefit from it. Like I said, it's already here. As those of you who work in the public, you know, it is here. This way we have a semblance of control over it, and we get the tax base. As someone who's recently got her tax bill, you know, I would prefer that the revenue for the city comes someplace else besides the residents who currently live and work here. So, again, I'm opposed to the moratorium. You know, there's time for studies, but to stand in the face of progress, and that's what this is. This community that the revenue is something important that I think we should embrace. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing at 6:06. And I think before we open up the council, I just kind of want to hear from you, Chief Twigger, on your thoughts, because I think for me, I agree with just about everything you said there. I think it's here regardless. I think that the city, regardless of when we allow it, we would have control over it as far as that stuff comes. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff with the state and the licenses, and similar to the federal government, they like to pass things that is very hard to enforce or understand. And you would think they would do a better job of explaining things and then thinking things through. So I'm just curious as far as you're concerned, or how you feel with the ordinance, or what we would then enforce or not enforce, so to speak, based on the state law.
Well, and it is here, I'll agree with that, it's been here for some time, I think a lot of this ordinance is regarding. I think, in my opinion, you're getting more direction from the state on how this stuff is regulated, where these businesses can pop up at. You know, how many businesses are we talking about, what is their proximity to schools and things like that, so. Until this office of cannabis management is up and fully functioning, I think at that point, I think that's the 2025 date that I've seen. I think we're getting a lot more direction and guidance at that point. We're still waiting for guidance as far as enforcement from our county attorneys. We're still waiting for from the League of Minnesota Cities as far as what enforcement's even going to look like at this point. So as far as enforcement right now, my major concern, as it always has been with this or any other, you know, narcotic or anything like that, is impairment. So, you know, right now as the law enforcement agency, a lot of what we focus on in regards to marijuana and other narcotics is turn on the roads and things like that. So we're going to continue to focus on that, whether this ordinance is in effect or not. That will be our #1 priority. And again, as this stuff gets rolled out, this state office of cannabis management gets put together, we'll get more guidance on the regulation part and things like that, as far as compliance checks and that stuff.
So what are our police department then? I guess I'm kind of curious with if it's legal that, which there's been some muddy waters. I think I read an article about St. Paul or something. I could be wrong, cities, so don't quote me on that one, but there was some metro city that they was looking at, given it's illegal to transport and sell or whatever, still so far, or somehow the way it was worded. If you're still in possession of it, you must have obtained it illegally. They were talking about ramping up on that because, you know, you can't transport it federally anyway across state lines. But as far as enforcement of that possession, is that something that we would spend time on as much, or I'm kind of curious. Obviously, the DUIs are a concern. What's the biggest one?
And until we get further guidance, I think from our county and state levels on what our role is in that even, as far as possession and transporting. Again, our major focus, just so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves, will be the impairment part of it. You know, that's what's hurting people on the road, that's what's not getting people home at night. And that's what we're used to enforcing right now. So, you know, that will continue to be our focus. I hope to get some guidance from the county and state level both by the end of this month. So we're gonna have a more clear picture, I think, as far as what to tell our staff and as far as enforcing other aspects of this, but until then, it's fun.
I'll open up to the council. Rob, do you have any questions or comments?
I brought this up about, I don't know, 2 years ago that we should legalize and start St. Francis moving forward to allow cannabis to be sold in our city. So I'm opposed to the ordinance myself. We're actually gonna have to do our due diligence, follow state statute, how they are presented, and just do our homework as it goes. If we open up a business and the state changes their mind, then the city will have to grandfather them in some sort of fashion. So I'm actually against this ordinance, and I will vote against it. I think we need to move forward as the, 2023. It's legal in other states, and to sit here and put all the blame back on the state because the state's 5 or 6 years behind anyway. I don't want to live in a city like that. So I think we need to be on the forefront, and we could have had businesses opening up in 90 days after August 1st. And that's still my goal, is to create businesses in the city that are safe, that's legal, instead of having a city that's constantly creating things that are illegal. If the state says it's legal, then cities should follow along with that and not put their own little 2 cents in. So that's my take on passing it. So.
Sarah?
There was a little bit of discussion, prior to the meeting, and I just would like a little more clarification. It sounded like to me in the conversation, Dave, this is what you can help us out here, is, a lot of this has more to do with commercial, is that correct? More commercial than personal?
Council member and members of the council. What the council is being asked to consider today is on the sale of cannabis. It's not on the personal use of it. That's a separate part of the law. There's been a lot of confusion on what in fact and when things are going to be legalized. So this is for the cannabis and the more than 3% THC. The statute provided, or the new law, that cities can enact a moratorium until the Office of Cannabis Management issues guidance and local regulations that cities can adopt. So at this point, this is just a measure that allows the city to potentially enforce if it needed to. However, the sale of cannabis, again, is not going to be legal until after January 1st, 2025, when the Office of Cannabis Management is finally up and running and able to do the enforcement. So this is kind of an interim measure that was afforded to cities to put into place, knowing that those sales cannot happen until after the Office of Cannabis Management is up and running.
So legally, anywhere in the state, basically, nobody could open a business anyway.
Correct, but this is the local enforcement.
That's
There's
confusing.
businesses that are open right now that are selling CBD.
Well, cannabis, the edibles are legal too, but that's, I don't understand.
There's no difference.
There is a difference. It just,
I agree with what
and we're going to say there is, again. And what's in there? The testing issues. What this ordinance is looking at is different than what was previously allowed under state statute. which the city has a current moratorium on, and that is the less than 0.3 THC. This is covering more than, and that also includes whole cannabis.
All right, Kevin.
Well, first of all, I'm fully on the chief's side and law enforcement side. There's no way to test for the impairment portion of it. Impairment is gonna be a big problem. Second of all, I was wanting to raise a question with Dave before the meeting was, to me, I'm gonna label it as commercial and residential use. It looks like, you can still, from a residential standpoint, this moratorium will have no effect. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll still be allowed to have X amount, of quantity in your possession in the city of St. Francis. But you can buy it elsewhere and bring it into town, but you can't, there's no differential there, right? You bought it for personal consumption, the state allowed it.
I can't speak to the transportation of it, but if you have it on your person, the new law provides that that is allowed.
Right.
For basic personal consumption.
Right,
That's not the subject of this one.
correct, okay, that's the one to find for sure. Second of all, you'll still be allowed to, have several plants in your yard in the city of St. Francis, as long as you're not selling it or distributing it, et cetera, et cetera. The state law will allow you to have X amount of plants, growing. Is that also fine? This moratorium is not stepping on that right.
It says right there, growing. In the
That's
word.
commercial, from a commercial.
Oh, it says cultivating, comma, growing.
But that's what I'm trying to define as commercial versus the personal use.
And it's not supposed to apply to personal. If we need to amend some of the language to say it's the state commercial, if that clarifies the issue, we can certainly, council can make an amendment to that.
I think we should. I mean, it'll be crystal clear then, not maybe or and or if. I think commercial should be put in there. Again, as far as the revenue, my understanding, and I could be wrong, I hear 10% tax on it, which would be going directly to the state to pay for this new organization they're gonna set up with ample amount of employees, et cetera. Which, so we'll still get our 7% sales tax if we sell it in town, but 10% on top, that's gonna go to the state, if I'm to understand that correctly. So, I think the ordinance should be clarified a little bit more as far as commercial and residential. I feel for the law enforcement side of things, I really do. But again, as far as impeding on personal rights, some of the state stuff is gonna trump this ordinance, and, people still be allowed to have personal rights to do what the state is allowing them to do, whether it be right or wrong, not for me to say, but it's been passed by the, beloved legislature, so it is what it is, but I think we need some clarification on the ordinance.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with all this to begin with, so I think it's funny that the state does say everything's legal and they're just gonna throw it out there, confuse everybody. I think the mix between, or the correction of the language to me kind of solve any issue there. Also, if we were to pass this first reading, we still have to pass the second reading. As
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, we had this listed as an emergency ordinance, which we did with the prior moratorium.
so there will only be. Okay. So how do we do that then? Do we continue it, or do we make a motion to? I mean, should we continue it, or should we make a motion to clarify language, or do we make a motion pending? I'm confused on that, then where would we?
There's still time on this, so if council would like to clarify the language, I think that we've heard what council is looking to see. A motion to continue to the next meeting would be appropriate.
Okay, and then, I guess, I don't know what's on the work, I know we have a work session coming up next week as well. Is this something that you guys feel that you need to, is there enough room for one? I have no idea how packed it is, it's pretty packed.
We can squeeze it in.
Okay, at least to get more ideas, I guess. It's like, it would be a good thing to throw it on there, if it's, I don't think it'll be a long drawn out deal, but I've been wrong before. But at this moment, I would, entertain a motion.
One more clarification. And who's making the determination on distribution of the cannabis? If we change the ordinance to commercial sale, who's gonna make the determination of how much cannabis an individual can sell before they're considered commercial? So,
Technically, you can't.
Need license.
You need a license. Need the state's permission to do that. And pay it.
so I,
Even if it is
I've never smoked weed in my life. So I'm gonna tell everyone that, but I am pro-choice. So. It's very difficult for me to understand how someone has cannabis to smoke.
That's part of the
That
issue. The
didn't
state, the
buy
law
it.
is saying it's okay, but yet you can't sell it until 20.
And that's today, and there's what, it's against the law, so until we pull our heads out and say, "Listen, we should create reform. On things that are gonna become legal. We just need to do it the right way and quit trying to hide words in our ordinances to just keep everything illegal. We need to change this ordinance. I still don't like, commercial, moratorium until 2025. I really don't. I don't know if a work session is gonna change my mind. I don't know if a vote down the road will ever change my mind.
Well, then that's where I'm confusing everything here too with the state, because if they say it's legal as of what it's legal to possess as of August 1st. But you can't sell it. Which means you can't buy it.
And no one has
But you
been
can
growing
possess
it yet. No one's been growing it because it's illegal. I'm just being serious. It's
Right.
illegal to grow it now unless you have a permit. And so until we just
And I heard,
start putting city ordinances together that make sense.
well, what I'm wondering too, is this redundant? Like I don't remember what it was that we did for some of the police. I asked if there's already a state law, but we made an ordinance to basically say the same thing. It's redundant. Which I get that. I know that also legally we cannot deny any business if it fits our, losing the word, zoning and, the 2040 plan, comp plan. That's the word I was looking for. So you can't legally deny anybody unless you have good reason to, right? Unless we have a moratorium or something either, but yet if it's illegal for the state. How necessary is this ordinance to begin with too, or is it just redundant on the state? Cause I downloaded the bill at one point, I haven't read it yet, but I haven't gotten around to it. The entire state bill, which I'm sure I'd be more confused if I read it anyway. But the August 1st deal, so it's managed possessed as of August 1st. You still, and that's where I was wondering too, because, I consider possibly if I had the means to open a cannabis business if possible, because I think it's a great money maker. I probably have to resign from the council to do so based on what I read. Could be wrong, maybe not. It's something I have to talk to legal about.
It can't be required.
I mean, I considered it. Of course, I did say I don't even know if it would fit because of where we have our schools and daycares, and the city's just not great for a lot of things with those things in the middle of town to begin with. But that's where I'm just confused on all this. So legally, you can possess it as of August 1st, but you can't buy it. Federally, you can't transport it across state lines. So anyway, you're getting it is gonna be illegal, but yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Well, you
Okay.
can't grow it now because it's illegal.
August 1st.
August first.
August 1st.
August first, you can.
So if we corrected that,
And you can have one.
that's where I'm just curious about the moratorium. I'm just wondering if the ordinance is necessary, if it's against state law, or how would that affect our zoning and comp? And that's kind of where I'm. Maybe you can clarify that, I guess.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, there are inconsistencies in the new law, 343 pages
That's
long. But one of the things that it does allow is that it gives the state or the city the authority to put the moratorium in place.
Right.
In regard to the sales. Then Office of Cannabis Management is supposed to be working with groups like the League of Minnesota Cities to come up with model ordinances so that cities can adopt it when things are allowed when sales are allowed to happen.
All right, I guess with that, if we have time, we can maybe touch on it in a work session, I would say, at least for this, I know that's a wonderful government. I'd entertain a motion to continue it until the next meeting. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by, Councilmember Robinson, do I have a second?
Also,
Second by Udvig, all in favor, or ordinance, does that matter? Or it's a motion? Okay, all in favor, aye, opposed?
Hey,
Alright. Motion carries to continue to the next meeting. Yeah, we're good there. Old business. Vote on request for section 106702 parking facility second reading.
Mayor presenting council, for you tonight, this is second reading of an ordinance that we discussed at the June 5th meeting. And so this ordinance allows for principal use as a parking lot in the B1 district, as long as a corresponding interim use permit has been approved that goes along with that parking lot. I think that I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fair with Kevin this time.
I have no questions. I think it's great for the commercial dentist office and I think it's all gonna work out good.
Sarah,
no question.
Rob,
so it popped in my head, B1 district, right? And then we're changing this for the dental purchase of the land next to the dental office. Could this just be passed through the inspections or something like that? To not just open it wide open for everyone to pay parking spaces in the B1 district? Or can we just approve just that portion? Is my question.
That's a good question. So when we were talking about this application with the dentist before it came forward, we like, what makes more sense here? An ordinance amendment, a variance request? How should we go about that? And move forward with the ordinance amendment in part because it doesn't quite meet the variance conditions. And also, I don't believe that it creates a threat that it will continue into principles where it does not fit, because in our city code, we have standards for when an interim use permit should be approved kind of thing. It's the same as a conditional use permit, and basically is that it has to be compatible, that it supports the general welfare of the community, and there's reasons that go behind the approval of an interim use ordinance that would allow the council to have discretion in the future if this were to come forward at a parcel that it didn't make sense for as well.
Thank you.
I think too, most businesses don't, unless it's gonna benefit their business with long parking meters, it's not revenue generating either, so I don't foresee it as being a big issue. Yeah. I have nothing more to add. With that, I'll entertain a motion. The second reading to approve ordinance 316 modifying section 106702. Parking facility in the zoning code resolution 2023-29. Authorizing summary publication of ordinance 316. Do I have a motion?
Oh.
Councilmember Roddick makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that with the exclusion of the resolution. That's one that's something.
Oh, I read that. Good job, Rob. We have a first and a second, roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Newbar,
Aye.
Councilmembers Bauer,
Aye.
Udvig,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Carries. Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-29.
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go to item B, code revisions, B1 use of design standards, signage, second reading.
Mayor and council, before you tonight are second readings of various ordinances that we talked about at the June 5th meeting regarding also B1 district zoning code updates. So these came about as staff was reviewing the new city hall fire station plan. And basically, you know, that was the first run with reviewing an application in the B1 district. And so it brought about a couple of things that basically became discrepancies between what our code had and what the B1 design standards were, just general code complexities of writing code. So we're hopeful that these code updates will help to clarify things to move applications forward easier in the future. And I can walk through them each one by one if you would like. So ordinance 317 basically clarifies language for allowing mixed use within the B1 district, allows for a commercial center and more flexibility on setbacks and design standards within B1.
All right, with that, I guess for questions, we'll start with Sarah.
I don't have any questions on this either.
Rob?
I don't have any questions.
No questions, sir.
I have nothing to add here either. Just for the public too, this is a second reading, so we went through more in detail on the first reading, since we never get an audience, it's kind of nice to have one. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 317, approving the amendments to section 104400, business industrial districts of the zoning code as presented by staff.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Bauer, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Edvig, roll call.
Councilmembers Robinson,
Aye.
Edvig,
Aye.
Bauer,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Newbar.
Aye. Motion carries. And now we'll entertain a motion for the resolution 2023-30 to authorize the summary publication 317 modifying section 1044. Motion.
I'll make a motion, sir.
Councilmember Robinson makes a motion, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Bauer, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Ordinance 318.
Ordinance 318 is also an update to the uses and clarifies that food and beverage service would be allowed as part of the mixed use standards in B1 and connects the two different kinds of mixed use allowances within the B1 district.
Questions, Kevin?
No questions, sir.
Rob?
No questions.
No questions.
Nothing for me here. So we'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 318, improving the amendments to section 106104 dwelling apartment mixed use of the zoning code as presented by staff. We have a
motion.
Councilmember Bauer makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second here.
Second by Robinson. Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Newbar,
Aye.
Councilmembers Bauer,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Edvig,
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll entertain motions for the resolution to authorize a summary publication of the ordinance 318 modifying section 106104 dwelling apartment mixed use in the zoning code as presented by staff. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Councilmember Robinson makes a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Edvig. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is it order? No, that was the red, that's the public.
This is resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now we have ordinance 319.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, ordinance 319 is an update to the sign code section. And basically the biggest update is to allow for one wall sign on every street frontage throughout the city. And it also updated just terminology to make it easier to reference within the city code and clear between parts and divisions.
Questions, Rob?
No questions.
Sarah?
No questions.
Kevin?
I have a question. Followed on item 2, on frontage shall be with the one sign per street frontage. What if you're on a corner lot?
So that would allow one wall sign for each side of your businesses on the corner. So
The size or exposure or make a difference at all as far as?
it does not. No, they would meet the site and the wall sign standards.
Okay, does it matter whether they're lit or unlit or that doesn't matter? Okay.
I may have to relook at the code. I think that we only allow one electronic sign per. I don't know that. I don't remember exactly if that's how that is, but
Not the pigments, and if you say electronic, is it a digital reading or a solid on? Does it make a difference?
it does make a difference. Yes. On if it's changing or not.
Should we, do you think we clarify something in this one before we let it go, or?
I don't believe so, no, because basically, it isn't adjusting that section of the zoning code, right? Like, I wish I could remember exactly offhand if we do just allow one.
I mean, but it's something that we talk about.
Yeah, that's a good question, but, it is. It keeps the wall sign per street frontage,
That's the uniform part. As
yeah,
far as the lighting part or light pollution to another building, adjacent building as opposed to. I'm just asking. I'm the sign guy, but.
and that is a good question, I would need to look at the code, so if you want to wait to do a second, reading on this one, so I can answer that question for you in more detail.
I think we should, as a business, as city changes and we're doing the main street, et cetera, I think it'd be helpful. Because maybe a proprietor down the road might have a question, we'd have to address it at that time. I think I know of one business already, which I can mention later. I think they had a problem with the city a while, years ago, that they were not only allowed to have one sign on one of their streets and not the other. So that popped in mind, I don't know, I think we should look at it and refine it. If that's possible, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm just curious if, whether or not it would hurt. We could always constantly look at these things too.
Sure.
This allows one for on each street front. Whether or not holding this up for clarification on the type
Okay.
of sign, I'm just curious, that's where I don't.
What
Is
is
there a separate ordinance for types of signs, or is this all pretty much the same thing?
They're all listed within the ordinance as different signs that are allowed in each district.
Well, I'm just wondering, so regardless of, this is, well.
Fix it now or fix it later?
Well, that's where I'm just curious whether or not, how much it makes a difference, or how critical is it to. Passing it would allow for one on each front, which would be good for any business,
Mhm.
and then cleaning it up later too, I don't know if that'd be. It would be more prohibitive now than later, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cause if we allow it now, then we get both street fronts, they can put the sign up, and then we can still. Move forward to amend it, I think, in future.
So I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah, so within our ordinance, we do spell out, that the electronic is a separate ordinance. So right now, we're only allowing one per street frontage, but then we do allow one sign displaying electronic scrolling. So it is a separate section, a separate item in the same ordinance, but this is literally to address the number of. We
That's
still
what I'm
only allow
thinking, so.
one electronic.
Okay. Meeting greeter, we'll just ask.
I just wanted to clarify too, that this actually helps businesses by having one on each front.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance 319, approving the amendments of section 109100. Sign of the zoning code as presented by staff, second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Robinson, do I have a second? Second by Bauer, roll call please.
Mayor Pro Tem Mulbauer,
Aye.
Councilmembers Bauer,
Aye.
Ludwig, Robinson,
Aye.
Carries. Now we will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-32, authorizing summary publication of the ordinance 319. Modifying section 109100, sign of the zoning code. Do we have one?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Bowers, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ludwig, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. New business, general obligation capital improvement bonds, series 2023A.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, Dan Tinter from Ellers is here tonight to talk to you about the bond sale and then we'll do the resolution calling for that sale, which will occur on August 7th meeting. I introduce Dan.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, members of the council. As mentioned, my name is Dan Tinter. I'm a municipal advisor with Ellers and Associates. And the very first thing this evening for Nick, who you normally see helping me out here. So just by way of introduction, this evening you are being asked to consider authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds for your capital improvement plan in the cost not to exceed $13 million. Some of this may sound a little familiar to you. You may recall back in October of last year, you conducted a public hearing on the legally required CIP. And then you completed a reverse referendum period consistent with state statute, which then ended in November. And that ultimately then gave you the opportunity to issue the bonds that are being considered this evening. For knowing the action tonight does not actually issue any bonds. All it does is call for the sale. And it authorizes Ellers and Associates as your municipal advisor and also your bond counsel to essentially begin working on your behalf to prepare the bond sale and then solicit bonds. As you may recall from the pre-sale report that was included in your packet, will actually be back on August 7th. That's when you will actually consider the actual award of sale and sell the bonds themselves. And then a few weeks later on August 24th is actually when the city would receive the money at closing. So essentially, this action this evening is to signal your intent to sell bonds. It doesn't obligate you to sell bonds. On August 7th, if this were if you're buying a house, you could think of that date as the purchase agreement, and then August 24th is the closing date when you actually get the money. Or like when you're buying a house, when you actually get the house. So that's essentially where we're at in this process. The things I would also just remind everyone about, these will be tax exempt fixed rate bonds at a cost not to exceed $13 million. And in case I haven't already said it, it is to fund the construction of the joint city hall and fire station here in the city of St. Francis. So that is a general summary of the action this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have on the pre-sale report or the resolution that was included in the packet or the bonds themselves.
Any questions? We'll start with Kevin.
I have no questions at this time.
I have no questions.
Sarah.
Okay.
I don't have any questions for you. I did have questions earlier. I did speak with Kate a little bit. My biggest concern, just the way some of this stuff was worded, like the risk factors. That got me a little edgy, like I didn't want to put us in debt before we see the bids, and this whole process is moving fast and kind of worried me. Main thing is we don't want to create debt when we don't know what the bid is and whether or not we need to move forward, so I think that question was answered earlier. I do not have any more questions, so with that, I guess I will entertain a motion for the resolution 2023-34 authorizing the issuance to sell general obligation capital improvement bonds, series 2023A in the proposed aggregate principal amount of $13 million. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Bauer. Do we have a second?
One second.
Second by Edvig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
Sorry I had to sit here for all that.
No, I'm a total government dork, so it's fine.
Item B on new business, demolition of existing.
Mayor and council, before you tonight is the plan and process for the demolition of the existing fire station. We are working with Stahl on this as they are our CMR for the general project. This allows us to pay the site control under them to put up and pay for fencing once versus twice. To be able to cap and uncap utilities in basically one movement versus two if we use other contracts. So they went out for bids, they collected 3 bids. There's a huge span between the low bid and the high bid. After discussing this with both Stahl at our building committee and with our public works department, DW is very fit and capable of doing this demolition and is working with the city with its best intent, giving us a fair price due to the relationship of other contractors. So this would take place, and they are looking at disconnect if everything goes as is on August 7th. We would actually start some of this process on August 8th to get that building down, keep our costs moving forward. So we are avoiding some of the winter construction that will add substantial costs to our project. So we do have this on a tight timeline, but that is very much set to adhere to the budget and the costs and stay out of winter build. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
We'll go on Rob.
My question is, if the bids come in too high, and we've already approved them to demolish the fire station, how do we back out of this legally? Because we have talked about upwards of 2 years. if the bids aren't where they need to be over the $13 million, putting this on hold for a while. So for me, it feels like the cart's in front of the horse a couple of days, until we get the bids, and then we can maybe approve this. I don't know how long the bids last, per se. So that's where I'm at with this, and answering any questions about how we get out of it, if we need to get out of it.
So Mayor and Council, so we would be entering into a contract with DW. So this is the first step to accept and approve those bids, and then we would start a contract. Our bids for the general project are due on July 13th. So long before this was to start any demolition, we will not only have all of our bids, our full project cost, but then also have to go through the bond process. If we don't go through all of that on August 7th, then we would not move forward with the demolition.
But does this,
There's
if we
no,
push it out
there's
2
no
years,
profession.
does this bid still work? Is there an expiration date on these bids?
Mayor and Council, no, these costs are for the project to be completed by the construction start in September of our new building. If we do not approve this on August 7th, we start over with everything before in 2 years.
Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Sarah?
My biggest question is, I mean, what is the reason for such a drastic, I mean, I realize that we've worked with them before, and, you know, I looked at Paul right away, and he's telling me it's okay, so I trust Paul on this one. But can you explain to me, I mean, that's like huge numbers. So what?
Yeah,
What is
so-
the-
Mayor and Council, I think a great deal of that is DW is familiar with our swimming. So they are familiar with, you know, our utility connections. They work with Public Works quite a bit, so we have a relationship for those disconnects. So the other 2 companies are not companies that have done work in St. Francis. So I would attribute that to familiarities and then the existing relationship.
Kevin?
I have no questions. I was involved in the building meeting at the time this was first disclosed, and they had, it was the subject of what needed to be done with Sunel. Everybody got it was all fair and square and above board. And again, DW they're closer to the community. They've done work with the community, and I think they're just showing some goodwill. And their total was 86,000. The other ones are 100 and some. So there's some profit and overhead and whatnot. The other guys are charging that DW is not. And, I think it'll be just fine.
Good. And my concern was just similar to Rob's, is if we say, let's go ahead and tear it down and we haven't approved the bids, then what do we do without a fire station? But I brought that up too at the building meeting, I was at as well as Kevin, but it sounds like everything's above board. Sounds good to me, it's a great price, and according to our public works director, they are very reputable, and we should not have anything to worry about. So with that, I would entertain a motion to accept the bid from DW for the destruction or demolition of the existing fire station. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Robinson, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Power, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And meeting to the open to the public for the second time. Do we have anybody that has anything else they'd like to say? Feel free to step up, state your name and address again, please.
Compared 2612-230 Portland West in St. Francis. All I ask is the city tries to push a little bit more, on the knowledge that this is gonna happen to the fire department. A lot of people, when I talk to it, do not even know that this is happening, even though I know it's been going on for a while. A lot of people, after they hear this, is like, well, where's the money from? A lot of this stuff, and when I was looking at it, these capital bonds are gonna cost us a lot later on. So I just feel like if you guys, on your side, you try and push a lot more of the public awareness, because I can only do so much as one person. And I feel like there's a lot of people that would like to have their voices heard before it's too late. That's all I have. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Luke Larson, 23332 Adams Street, Northwest, Francis. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, with that, we will go to council member reports. Sarah?
I attended the farmer's market on Wednesday. I was well attended and we expanded a few more people there, so. If you want to, thank Colette and Jody, they do a fabulous job. They're great at setup and tear downs, very impressive. Keep up the good work. I've heard lots of good things and, people are excited, people are enjoying it.
Okay, Rob?
I went to the first farmer's market after the first, city council meeting. It was well attended. I'm hoping it will grow and as more and more people find out about it. I'll ask, share the city's St. Francis Facebook page on your page to get awareness out there, because we post a lot of things on our Facebook page, the city Facebook page. And if there's anything that out there that you want to see on the Facebook page, call the city, talk to them. We're not all internet, savvy people. And I'll just tell the public, our finance, meetings are gonna be coming through. So if you want to know where your tax dollars are going, based on coming to the city council meetings, there's gonna be, over the next couple of years, almost 12 and almost 13% tax increase over the next couple of years. So if this bothers you, come to our meetings, we'll explain what the funds are for. And maybe we can come to a resolution on how to lower those tax rates. So that's what I want to tell the residents, come out and understand what we're trying to do with your money. And we are trying to spend it wisely, but we are council, so.
Thank you, Kevin.
I attended the building meeting last week with Stahl Construction. And again, we've been working on this, I think 18 months total, and we've had so many building meetings in the last 6 months, but prior to the 18 months prior, we've had open houses for City Hall and Fire Station. We've had numerous publications in our newsletters. We've invited at the end of the meeting, we talked about and recap and rehash what we've been doing here. We're not taking this very lightly. 13 million is a lot of money. And if you look at your property tax statement, as I have, and my eyes got big, but again, I tend to live here, I plan to live here another 20 years plus. One of my kids lives near here as well, and will take advantage of the, as long as the fire station and stuff comes through, but we really have been working hard and with a lot of due diligence, and Kate's assured us and the other rest of the administration what we can and can't do, and we've invested money at this point. It's just like anything, a family's looking at a house or buying land, and they get so close and we get to the edge and then we can't do it, just like the gentleman from Eller said, we can stop. And this is, it's an intent, not an obligation. Now, we'll have money on the table that we left behind if we cannot do it. Yeah, but we've done our homework. We know what to do next time if we can't make this happen. If we do get to make it happen, there'll be some amenities and things that we'll do without. The city hall is not going to be some palatial meeting place. We are losing the opportunity, maybe lose this in the future as well. So we've been fortunate to have a place to meet. But the fire station is most important. Public safety is a big part of this thing. It's always been for me. It's not where we meet as a council and administration. It's fire and safety and the expansion of. We're hopefully we're very close to entering another agreement with a neighboring community now then to provide them with admin help as well as enrollment, et cetera, help with their fire department. We will be entering an agreement with the city of Bethel, a town of 400, and that currently has 5 firefighters, and they have a concern of their overall safety and longevity. So just to reassure everyone, I wouldn't have run the second time if I didn't believe in what we're doing here, day in, day out, month in, month out. So please take it to heart. And as far as whatever you want to know, you're welcome to call the city, leave a voicemail, and call any one of us. Our numbers have been out there for, I'm going into my 5th year now here as a devoted public servant, and I really enjoy what I do, and I take it very serious. So, and then as far as if you see your taxes going up and you're disappointed, don't be disappointed, come get educated. And then you can be disappointed, or offer input on why we're spending what we spend. Because honest to goodness, the audience is pretty empty on most every meeting we have. And now it comes to pocketbooks and people get excited, but I haven't heard a thing about it. Well, we've really been shouting from the rooftops about what's going on. And I'm not making light of anything. People are busy, there's sports, there's kids, there's work, there's life. You know, the people have things to do, I get that, so. But with all due respect to everyone concerned, again, come to every meeting or listen in, you can, listen in after the fact, but again, reach out to us and talk to us, but we are taking it seriously. Casey doing a good job steering this. This is a big ship and it's moving very slowly, but we can put the brakes on it if we have to. And again, we're being very frugal with what's going in this building, if it comes to life and, how it's all gonna be, taken care of and what it'll look like when it's done. It'll be an accent piece to our city and a building block or a cornerstone for what the rest of the city could look like, down the road. This is gonna be a 75-year building at least. So, it's something we should be very proud of, if this comes off the ground as it should. We have good partners we're working with as far as Stahl and the other people who have helped along the way, so that's all I have.
Thanks, Kevin. My report would be, I attended the building meeting along with Kevin. And the 13% increase that Councilmember Bauer did talk about. I hope that does scare you and get you here, because I'd like to hear more from people. That's, if everything on that wish list was achieved in that time frame, that is about what it would be. I don't think that's gonna happen, that it's gonna be up to future council, whether it's us or somebody else sitting here. But if it does scare you and get you into the meetings, I really hope it does, because we cannot get engagement to save our lives. I do, take it to heart when I hear people say that we're not transparent about things sometimes. One of the reasons that I'm sitting here, as well as Rob and Sarah, Kevin as well, and the mayor, Mayor Feldman, was the wastewater treatment facility, and that was something that got. Now, I wasn't paying attention. I moved in here when I was 25 years old. You know, bought a house, didn't know anything about anything, and then I got a bill saying that was gonna increase as much as it did. And I know I didn't get elected because they really liked me. They got elected, you know, I got elected because they hated the last guys because of the bills they got dropped on. But one of the things that, you know, we look at too is we've been preparing this for 2 years. We do try to get engagement. We do push that. And I know from being on your side of things, that I wasn't paying attention to anything. You know, I really wasn't. I was going to work, paying my bills, who cares? You know, next thing I know, I'm getting something. I didn't care what the city had to say. So you being involved is awesome. I hope you continue it when you can. I hope you can get more people to be involved as well. I know I tried, and I ended up sitting here instead of, you know, being out there. But other than that, it's really hard to get public engagement. So I do appreciate that too. With that, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Ruddick, do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Bauer. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I didn't. There's a